Today, we're going to look at something really cool. It's a 4-week curriculum that basically turns learning into a giant adventure for little kids. It's all about becoming a little life player.
So here's the big question, right? How do you actually make learning an adventure? How do you get a kid genuinely excited about it so it doesn't feel like a chore, but more like, well, a game? Well, this one curriculum has a really fascinating answer. It's called the Little Life Player. And the whole idea is to take 4 weeks and turn everyday life into this epic quest for knowledge. Okay, so what's the big idea here? It's all about making learning real. I mean, forget boring worksheets. This is about finding all the math, the language, the art that's already hiding in plain sight in a kid's world. In stuff that can actually see and touch. So, what exactly is a Little Life Player? Honestly, think of them as the main character in their own video game. They're not just sitting there memorizing stuff. Nope, they're out there solving real problems, completing quests. They're literally playing the game of life. All right, let's get into it. Week 1. This is where the adventure really kicks off, and it starts with a skill that is, let's be honest, the foundation for everything else: focus. So their first quest? It's a classic spot the difference challenge. But here's the genius part. It's not just a game. See, there's a time limit, which forces them to be observant, fast. Finding all 7 differences, that builds patience. And then, and this is key, they have to explain each difference out loud in a full sentence. That's building language skills right there.
And bam! Just like that, the program links that newfound focus to a super important life skill: money. So the next tool they get in their inventory isn't some magical sword, it's coins. They learn to recognize different coins, and this is also super important, how to stack them up neatly so they can count them fast.
Okay, so now it's time for a pop quiz. A banana costs 16 yuan. How do you pay for it? It's such a simple question, right? But it forces the student to take what they just learned and actually use it. It makes it real. And this leads to something that, actually trips up a lot of little kids. It's this idea that paying more is still enough. So if a watermelon is 78 yen, but you only have 10 yen coins, well, paying with 8 of them, or 80 yen, works. It's a huge step because it teaches them that it's okay to pay over the exact amount, which is the first step to understanding how getting change back works. All right, let's move on to week 2. This is where our Little Life Player really starts to level up. We're going from just paying for stuff to the much trickier world of strategic buying. So in week 2, the classroom basically becomes a supermarket. It's a full-on role-playing game. The kids become customers and shopkeepers, buying and selling things like pencils. And suddenly, it's not just about math anymore. It's about confidence, about speaking up, about learning that little social dance you do when you buy something. And here's where it gets really clever. They're shown 2 ways to figure out a total cost. First, there's the hard work method. Just adding 6 plus 6 plus 6. But then they're introduced to the grouping method, a much smarter, faster way, like adding 12 plus 12. It's basically laying the groundwork for multiplication without even calling it that. And that brings us to the Great Candy Challenge. You've got 40 yuan. A piece of candy costs 6. How many can you buy? See, this is more than just math. It's a puzzle about limits. You can't just add forever. You have to figure out when to stop. It's the perfect way to test out that new grouping skill they just learned. Okay, week 3 is where things get really expansive. The quests move beyond just the supermarket and dive into science and art. And what's so cool is how it shows that these subjects aren't separate things. They're all connected in the real world. First up, they become eco-warriors. Their mission is a timed race to sort trash into the right categories. It's fast, it's frantic, and it's a high-speed lesson in being responsible for our planet. Way more fun than a lecture, right? And then they switch gears completely. They take off their scientist hat and put on their artist hat. The new mission is to use basic shapes, triangles, squares, circles, to build whatever they want. A house, a rocket ship, anything. It's such a brilliant way to teach geometry, not as a bunch of boring rules, but as a toolbox for your imagination. Okay, here we go. Week 4, the grand finale. This is the synthesis, right? This is where everything they've learned so far, the focus, the money skills, the clever math, the creativity, it all comes together for one final challenge. And here it is, the final boss. It's a word problem. Xiaoming has a few different coins and wants to buy a sticker book. Can he do it? It looks simple, but think about it. They have to recognize the coins, add them all up, and then compare that total to the price.
It's a perfect final exam for all their new skills. And it's not just the word problems that level up. Remember that shape art from week 3? Well, now it literally jumps off the page. They move from 2D shapes to building 3D structures with blocks and cubes. This is how you sneak in lessons about spatial reasoning and engineering, not by reading about it, but by actually doing it. So, after 4 weeks of quests and challenges, the journey is over. But the real prize, the real takeaway here, isn't just a piece of paper. It's a whole new way of looking at the world. It all boils down to this one core idea. Learning is everywhere in life. You know, the idea that a trip to the store is a math lesson, sorting trash is a science experiment, and playing with blocks is an art class. It's all around us. So that certificate they get at the end, it's not just for finishing a course. It's for mastering the ultimate skill, realizing that learning itself is the best game there is. It's for seeing that the world is just one big playground, and every problem is a brand new quest. And that really leaves you with a powerful question, doesn't it? This whole thing is a blueprint for making learning active and fun and, actually relevant. It just makes you think, what if all learning felt like this?